Hello, friends. Welcome to yet another episode of Inspiration Through Information. On this episode, let's really learn about science of happiness and how could we actually live a fulfilling life. First of all, what does it mean to be truly happy? Is happiness merely an emotion, or is it a science, a set of principles that, when understood and applied, can lead to a fulfilling life? For centuries, poets, philosophers, and scholars have sought to answer this question, yet only in recent few decades has science really provided some concrete insights into what makes us happy. Today, let's do one thing. In this video, let's delve into the fascinating world of happiness research that has happened until here, exploring some evidence-based strategies that can elevate our well-being and transform the way we experience life. First of all, let's try and understand the science behind happiness and what the research has revealed so far. Happiness is not a vague or a mystical concept. It is a measurable state that psychologists, neurologists, and behavioral economists have spent years studying. In fact, the field of positive psychology, pioneered by Dr. Martin Seligman, is dedicated entirely to understanding human flourishing. So what does science really have to say about happiness? Let's try and talk some numbers in the beginning. There was a study in 2019 from Harvard University that found that close relationships are the strongest predictor of happiness and longevity that surpass wealth, fame, or even genetic factors. The 85-year-long Harvard study of adult development followed individuals from various backgrounds and concluded that those who cultivated deep, meaningful relationships lived healthier and more satisfying lives. The World Happiness Report in 2023, as recent as 2023, ranks Finland as the happiest country for the sixth consecutive year. But what makes Finland people so happy? The answers were found in social trust, work-life balance, and a strong sense of community that played a pivotal role in getting the people in Finland to be that happy. Also, according to University of California in Berkeley, up to 40% of our happiness is influenced by intentional activities, the habits and the choices we make, while only 10% is determined by life circumstances like wealth, social status, our environment. The remaining 50% is attributed to genetics. So if you really sometimes find yourself in a terrible low feeling that has nothing to do with your wealth, status, social well-being, or whatsoever, that connects with your choices and habits, you surely can attribute to that genetic thing that's been flowing in your genes. These findings suggest that while genetics play a pivotal role, we have significant control over our happiness, because 50% of it is choices. And that's where science-backed strategies can come in. So let's take up the next part of this video, which is the neuroscience of joy. Let's really understand how happiness works in our brain. The top floor of all of us is filled with a magical element that is the universe's best creation. Happiness certainly is more than a feeling. It is indeed a biological process. Our brain releases 4 primary chemicals that contribute to happiness: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. Dopamine is called the reward chemical. Of course, you could read a ton about it, and we will present the next video that's exclusively about dopamine. But for now, this reward chemical is released when we achieve a goal. Dopamine fuels motivation and excitement in all of us. It's pretty much a reason we feel accomplished after completing a task or receiving a praise. While serotonin is a mood stabilizer, it's often called the happiness neurotransmitter, because serotonin enhances our mood, promotes well-being, and is influenced majorly by diet, exercise, and sunlight exposure. So the next time you really wish to understand why good food or good exercise or some exposure to sunlight on the beach gives you a great, mood, that's because serotonin is in play. The next one is the oxytocin. It's called the love hormone. Oxytocin strengthens social bonds and trust, which is why a physical touch, deep conversations, or acts of kindness make us feel good, while the opposite is true as well. Where people don't experience a physical touch or great deep conversations, or they don't experience acts of kindness towards them, they may not feel that good and oxytocin levels might just reduce. That's why they say be kind whenever you have an opportunity to be. The next one is the endorphins. They are the pain relievers. These chemicals act as natural painkillers. They are released through laughter, exercise, and sometimes even dark chocolate consumption. When you consume a ton of dark chocolate, by the way, you shouldn't go beyond certain limits, certain amount of endorphins are released and they act as pain relievers. By understanding how these chemicals function, we certainly can adopt behaviors that naturally boost our happiness levels. At a very basic level, if you really knew a little bit of exercise and right diet and sitting on the beach with some physical touch and deep conversations and having your engagement into some acts of kindness can actually help your serotonin and oxytocin levels get better, you will have better moods and feel a lot of love within. And every time you complete a small task, that release, that dopamine, that feeling, those are the things you will be able to balance out and understand yourself better and increase your overall happiness. The next thing we all need to understand for our practical well-being, does happiness really get affected by the amount of money and wealth? Can money really buy joy? Are these things connected? It's a big question. So let's try and see if we can understand in a few words. The relationship between wealth and happiness is truly misunderstood. While financial security truly eliminates the stress related to our survival needs, excessive wealth does not equate to greater happiness. Most of us think if we had a lot of money, we might possibly be really happy, but that's really not true. Financial security will eliminate stress, and that stress related to the survival needs getting eliminated can lead to a stress-free feeling, but certainly not greater happiness levels in you. So a famous study by Princeton University that was done in around 2010 found out that happiness increases with income mostly up to an average level. Let's say in India, that could be around 40-50 lakhs a year. And in US or other places, it could be about $75,000 to $100,000. Beyond that, any additional income is not going to have an effect on your emotional well-being. In 2021, a study from the University of Pennsylvania challenged this notion, stating that happiness does not continue with increasing with income, but only if the person enjoys what they do. So if you are truly having fun at what you're doing at work, you will probably be happier than the total amount of money that your work is paying you. So the key takeaway, wealth alone doesn't bring joy. Purpose, passion, and meaningful relationships will. So if you're constantly in the cycle of thinking greater amount of wealth is going to solve your problem of getting you out of any kind of a miserable feeling and putting you on the pedestal of happiness, you are certainly mistaken, and you need to get out of that, because defying and denying science is no good in today's times, and all of us do want to be happy at the end of the day. So now let's look at certain habits of happy people and what are those proven strategies that have helped them cultivate joy. So if happiness is largely within our control, can we really harness it? So science does provide certain proven strategies. Let's look at some of them. The number one practice is practicing gratitude. Gratitude rewires the brain for positivity. A study from the University of California found that people who wrote down just 3 things that they were grateful for in a everyday experience increased their chances of being happy by 25%. So the next time you really have no idea how to get happy in the moment, try this. Try putting down 3 things you are truly, truly grateful for today, and you shall see a net increase in your happiness levels for the day. The second thing that is truly important to increase your happiness levels is to foster strong relationships. As highlighted in the Harvard study of adult development, relationships are the single most important factor in long-term happiness. Prioritizing time with your loved ones over any material pursuits can significantly enhance your well-being. That's why you will notice that you talk a lot about the previous generations that spent a lot of time around their family, were happier and well to do with their health, compared to the ones today that are probably living lonelier lives or a little less social compared to the previous generations. So try to foster stronger relationships in your life if you really wish to increase your happiness levels. The third thing that is quite important is to engage in regular exercise. Time and again, we find so many articles, videos, and people around us telling us to engage in regular exercise, but we miss out on it more often than we can even understand. Physical activity triggers endorphin release that reduces stress and boosts happiness. The Journal of Happiness Studies reported that as little as 10 minutes of exercise a day could improve your mood and mental clarity significantly. So the next time you're really feeling unclear or not up and alive, get a good run or cycle for a bit, or probably go for a jog or take a long walk and come back, and you're likely going to trigger the endorphin release in your body, feel less stressed, and boost your happiness levels a little more. The fourth thing that's quite important is to cultivate mindfulness and meditate as often as you can. Mindfulness practices like meditation, they reduce stress and they increase your emotional resilience. Being mindful of what you eat, being mindful of what you watch, being mindful of what you consume, being mindful of what you talk, being mindful of how you behave are all little practices that will expose you more to how you feel, who you are, and they'll help you regulate that towards better levels of happiness eventually. A Harvard medical study found that mindfulness meditation shrinks the amygdala, the brain's fear center. The more you feel scared of something, the more fears you experience, you are likely not meditating. You're likely not mindfully meditating. That's why you will see those that mindfully meditate are less fearful as such. And being less fearful automatically enhances your chances of feeling happier because you are less stressed and less scared, less insecure, and hence you're strongly grounded in security and chances of happiness hence elevate. This mindfulness meditation also enhances the prefrontal cortex. You can probably Google about it or maybe watch another video that we will have on this channel about the major functions of prefrontal cortex. But for now, you must just understand that mindfulness meditation enhances your prefrontal cortex that improves your rational thinking and hence your overall happiness. The number 5 thing is helping others. Acts of kindness, so small acts of kindness, whether it's volunteering or gestures of generosity, increase your happiness levels significantly. They say, right, what you give is what you get. So when you are given acts of kindness, you feel greater release of the love hormone. That's exactly how giving it away also helps you feel. So the University of British Columbia found that people who spent money on others reported greater happiness than those who spent money on themselves. So sometimes when you go out for a party and treat your friends, just don't burn your wallet completely, but you should know why that gives you a greater sense of happiness than having your friends just spend on you. A free giveaway feels less good over the long run than you giving it away at times. The next thing is limiting social media and digital overload. We are all bombarded by information from all around. There are tons and tons of apps on our phones, many and many social media apps as well. So the constant social media exposure can lead to comparison and dissatisfaction. We might constantly get pushed towards comparing our way of life with someone else's who looks happier and more fulfilled on social media. These dissatisfactions from comparisons can lead to an overall reduction in happiness, and hence limiting your exposure to such elements on social media can pull you away from these feelings. So a study at University of Pennsylvania found that limiting social media to just 30 minutes a day can significantly reduce anxiety and depression. So the opposite side is quite true as well. Those that are exposed for longer periods to social media are likely increasing their chances of getting and feeling depressed and getting feelings of anxiety. The number 7 thing and the last thing that we would like to touch in this area of what all could you actually practically do to increase your happiness is embracing a growth mindset. One of the psychologists who researched on this aspect suggested and highlighted that people with a growth mindset, actually the ones who seek opportunities and challenges, are actually happier and more successful than those with a fixed mindset. So with these tips, I think we wind up here with what could make you happy practically on a day-to-day basis. But let's continue with what we are trying to understand about the science of happiness. Let's see what is the philosophy of happiness and what is that timeless perspective that's been going on. Well, ancient wisdom aligns with modern science when it comes to happiness. Aristotle described happiness as eudaimonia, a state of flourishing through purpose and virtue. That's because he believed people who felt purposeful and virtuous were likely to be more happier than the rest of them, and it was so true. Buddhism teaches that true happiness arises from inner peace and not external circumstances. People who keep seeking external circumstances, getting better, are mostly unhappy, and unhappy people lead to more unhappy people. So those that find some inner peace are able to find that happiness and spread it as well. Stoicism, on the other hand, emphasizes that focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot is the secret sauce of happiness. And isn't it true? Think about it. If you are able to focus on what you could control, you rather have a greater chance of making wiser choice. And we just studied in this video that 50% of our happiness depends on what we can control. Right? So the next time you're finding yourself in a state of worry, anxiety, sadness, or unhappiness, try and see if you're actually anxious, worried, or stressed over something you can't control. If that is the case, let it go, my friend. The next thing that we need to understand is how can we summarize all of this and actually live a better life. But before that, by simply integrating the scientific principles we just learned with these timeless wisdom tips from Buddhism, Stoicism, and even Aristotle for that matter, we certainly can create a set of principles we could read and reinforce every single day. Meanwhile, what we can conclude here is that the pursuit of happiness is not about momentary pleasure, but it's about cultivating that lasting fulfillment. Science teaches us that happiness is deeply intertwined with relationships, gratitude, mindfulness, and purpose. It's hence a journey and not a destination. A journey that we must navigate with sincere intention. A little intentful living to make the right choices can help us go a long, long way. So the question is not, can I be happy? But rather, how can I create happiness every single day? The power lies within us, my dear friends. How can I create happiness every single day? So stop asking, can I be happy? And start asking, how can I create happiness every single day for myself and those around me? Now, with this concluding here, I wish you all the very best. And whenever you want a revisit to this entire science of happiness, feel free to turn this on and listen to it in any mode that you prefer. Meanwhile, wishing you a ton of happiness all around you and in your family and for your loved ones. See you on the next episode of Inspiration Through Information.